Hello, I'm Chris Browder, and this is video 4.1 in my series on second language acquisition theory and research. In this video, we're going to be talking about intelligence and aptitude in second language acquisition. This video, like most of mine, is largely based on Rod Ellis's text, Understanding Second Language Acquisition. I'm also pulling a lot from Lightbound and Spada's How Languages Are Learned and Ortega's Understanding Second Language Acquisition. So thank you to them. In the last lesson, we discussed the role age plays in second language acquisition. We learned that children, when given the right conditions, nearly always surpass adults eventually. Children who immigrate at a young age nearly always acquire a higher level of target language proficiency than people immigrating after puberty. We also learned, however, that some adults do reach very high levels of target language proficiency. We learned that some adults actually acquire second languages much faster than children. In fact, adults generally seem to get a much faster start on language learning than children do, especially for vocabulary acquisition. So there appears to be some other factor involved in language learning than just age. Why are some adults so much more successful than other adults and even more successful than children, at least in the short term? In this lesson, we're going to explore some possible answers to those questions, and specifically in this video, we're going to be looking at the role of aptitude and intelligence in second language acquisition. So I'd say our essential question here is, are some adults simply better language learners because they're smarter or more talented when it comes to language learning? Well, let's get into that. So, if we're talking about smarter or better or just naturally more talented, then we're basically talking about some kind of intelligence. But the problem is that we don't really have one clear, commonly agreed upon definition of intelligence. We're not quite exactly sure what it is. I mean, I guess if you ask one psychologist, they're going to tell you that they know exactly what it is and they're going to tell you what it is. But then if you ask a different psychologist, you're going to get a different answer and you're going to realize that these guys don't agree. Okay? There are a lot of ongoing debates about intelligence and some very touchy issues. So let me get into two of them here. The first one. Clearly, some people seem to be gifted in one area and not gifted in another. Someone may be a fast learner for music, for instance, but a slow learner for math. So, this begs the question, are there different types of intelligence, or is there one unifying type of intelligence that is behind the learning of all the different skills and knowledges we acquire over our lifetime? And then there's the next issue. Clearly, people change over time. Can intelligence be taught or improved, or is it static and fixed? Is it nature or nurture? Research on the relationship between intelligence and second language acquisition is inconclusive. Sorry. There is no clear evidence that people who do better on psychological measures of intelligence learn second languages faster than other people do. There is evidence that people with high IQs, for example, tend to have superior analytical ability for language, but we have no evidence that this helps them acquire actual communicative competence faster. Research shows that people who do better on psychological measures of intelligence may have advantages in formal learning classroom situations that focus largely on literacy and explicit knowledge of grammar. But those people don't seem to have any clear advantages in the development of communicative speaking skills, or especially not pronunciation. Related to the issue of intelligence is the concept of language aptitude. For decades, researchers have been identifying apparent language savants. These are rare individuals who have seemingly superhuman language learning abilities, literally acquiring a language in a matter of weeks. This is a picture of a very famous language savant named Christopher. He can't cross the street without help, but man, can this guy learn languages. All right, so the very existence of these people is evidence that some humans are somehow more gifted for language learning than others. And the fact that many of these individuals are savants suggests that one can be good at learning languages, but not intelligent in general with everything. Therefore, we have reason to believe that such a thing as language aptitude exists and that it exists separately from other kinds of intelligence. But what exactly is it, and how does it work? And how is understanding it really going to help us to learn better and teach better? For many decades, researchers have been designing tests that propose to measure a person's natural language learning ability or language aptitude. Research shows that these tests do, in fact, seem to be able to predict who will learn a second language faster or slower. In fact, a great deal of research shows that language aptitude may be the single most important variable in predicting how well a person will do with learning a second language if that person is given the same kind of opportunities and conditions as other people. So, holding other variables steady, yeah, language aptitude tests do seem to be a very strong predictor of success. The most famous of these tests is the Modern Language Aptitude Test, or MLAT. The MLAT claims to measure 4 different skills related to language learning. 1. Phonemic coding. 2. Grammatical sensitivity. 3. Inductive language learning ability. And 4. Rote learning ability. Phonemic coding is the ability to remember unfamiliar sounds and apply that memory later. Grammatical sensibility is the ability to recognize or sense the grammatical function of an unfamiliar word or morpheme in a sentence in an unfamiliar foreign language. Inductive language learning ability is the ability to induce or infer a rule or a pattern in an unfamiliar language. And rote learning ability is the ability to memorize words, phrases, and sentences in an unfamiliar language. Some researchers have suggested that the most important trait underlying all 4 of these components of language aptitude is just simply working memory. The term working memory refers to one's ability to hold information in one's memory long enough to process it. Critics of this test, such as Stephen Krashen, have argued that these aptitude tests only predict how well a student will do with formal, form-focused classroom instruction, but not how well they will actually acquire communicative competence in an immersion situation. Research shows, however, that these tests are also reliable for predicting how well a person will acquire communicative competence in an immersion setting without the benefit of formal instruction. Other critics have pointed out that the MLAT does not measure one ability, but instead measures several different abilities, and a learner can be strong with one of those abilities while being weak with another. These researchers found that they could customize language instruction to focus on the learner's strengths and minimize the damage caused by the weaknesses. These experiments appeared to benefit the learners, and this is evidence that language aptitude is not actually one ability, but several. Researchers have tried to determine whether language aptitude is a fixed trait or something that can be trained and increased over time. Some research has shown that experience learning a language improves a learner's aptitude for future language learning. These researchers concluded that experienced language learners acquire strategies that help them learn faster in the future. But other researchers have come to the conclusion that experience with past language learning does not predict faster language learning in the future. So, in other words, we just simply don't know. We don't know what language aptitude really is. We don't agree on it. We don't know if it's a fixed trait, if it's teachable. We honestly don't know what to do with it. So, in conclusion, language aptitude really appears to be a real thing, but we don't understand it very well. We certainly don't know exactly how to apply it. I mean, after all, what good does it do to tell someone that they are naturally good or naturally not good at learning a language? How is that going to help somebody? What's a teacher supposed to do with that information? Except maybe develop a prejudice? But not all language learners are created equal. It seems to be a talent that some people have and some people don't have. And we just don't know if we can teach it. Well, on a closing note here, a final note here. As you know, case studies of successful language learners suggest that aptitude plays a very, very important role. But none of these superhuman learners succeed without making some kind of great effort and lots of hard work. In other words, aptitude is not enough. You gotta have motivation, hard work, and effort, and you have to have support. So I guess that's a great segue into the next video, which is about motivation. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was useful for you.